Hello and welcome to my look at the intros to American Horror Story. Previously I did a video about my top 10 TV intros and said that American Horror Story could walk into a third of the spots. And that'd just be silly, so if people wanted, they'd get their own video. And some people wanted it, so that's what I'm doing. I'm guessing you're all passingly familiar with American Horror Story, but just in case this video was unearthed in a few thousand years and the neo-fascist nightmare wars devastated the planet, American Horror Story isn't just what we call contemporary American politics. It's also a TV show. But one of those seasons was about contemporary American politics, so it really works. I love American Horror Story. I have seen season 1, and I still do. But I'm kind of immune to its many dips in quality, because I don't watch it to be scared or to see something good. I watch it for trash and madness, because I see it as a coked-out soap opera. So when NYC suddenly turned into one of the most affecting things I've seen in years, I was legitimately confused. But I'll get to that. AHS also has a staggeringly good record when it comes to intros. From imagery to editing to working subtlish details about what the season's about into it. And most of them are mini works of art. Not quite good enough to stand up as an independent piece without the show. Like, say, American Gods intro. But head and shoulders above most intros. And yes, I mean intros, plural. There's been 12 seasons of American Horror Story, and there's been 12 distinct intros. That doesn't sound too weird, but one season had no intro, and one had 2. And this isn't even going into the intros they come up with for every episode of the spin-off American Horror Stories. If you want a video on that, just let me know. Just a warning, there will be spoilers. I'm going to reference stuff in the show when discussing the seasons and their intros and how they connect. So please, if you want to see these years-old shows unspoiled, I suggest you duck out now. I'll be going in order of quality and basically talking about what works and anything that jumps out at me. And side note, I didn't have time to rewatch all 132 episodes of American Horror Story for this video, so I'll mostly be going from memory. Yes, I know, I'm slipping, but even I need to sleep occasionally. I could have worked a rewatch into my schedule organically, but that would mean these videos probably wouldn't be out till sometime late next year. And yes, I meant these videos. This turned out to be much longer than I expected. So I'm being sensible for once and splitting it in half. It just felt weird making this longer than the video it's spinning off from. So this video is going to be the bottom 7 and part 2 will be the top 6. Anyway, let's get started. The backbone of these intros is the theme music. A very distinctive and ominous piece that the internet says is a cover of The Clash's Guns of Brixton. But personally, I don't hear it. Wait, I think I hear it now. As a piece, the American Horror Story theme isn't exactly a banger. It's not something you put on to listen to, but it's a good mood setter and works fantastically well with nifty as fuck imagery, which is what we usually get. Anyway, I'm listing these in reverse order, worst to best, but most of these are actually pretty close in quality, so if your favourites aren't at the top, that doesn't mean I think they're crap. It's less a best one and 11 crap ones, and more of a non-existent one, a worst one, a few crap ones, a load of close runner-ups, and a best one. But let's get started with number 13. Yes, I said there were 12 intros. This is why Roanoke Season 6 is number 13. It has no intro. A real misstep. Roanoke is one of the most imaginative seasons of the show. Original big name Jessica Lange had left and murder ghosts were feeling samey, so they decided to play with structure. To that end, Roanoke was a reconstruction of true events as a married couple are terrorized by ghosts and local rednecks, intermixed with interviews with the real people. It's a fantastic gimmick that really lets them play with reality. Then they continued the fun by doing a fake reality TV show where the actors and the people they played go back to the house and have a terrible time with the real ghosts. So, kind of a subversion of the first half of the season. And then they did an episode about the fans of the show going to the place, like fans do, and having a terrible time themselves. It's like a meta spiral of death. With all the zany stuff they do in Roanoke, it is a tragedy they decided not to do an intro. But don't hold this against that. It is easily in my top 3 or 4 seasons. Just make sure it's not your first season if you've never seen the show before. This is the sort of show you really have to ease yourself into. like a vinyl murdering set. Death Valley is number 12. It was the second half of Season 10, double feature. This time, they played with structure again by giving us two completely disconnected, half-length stories, possibly in an attempt to avoid the season going off the rails later on, as they often do. Death Valley is not well regarded generally, but I'm much more forgiving. It's a tale of two stories, one half showing how aliens have secretly integrated themselves into the USA via politics for decades. It even references a bunch of actual UFO lore like Valiant Thor.
My name is Valiant Thor.
This half is basically a perfect parody of the X-Files. The other half is set in the modern day and is much worse. Basically, some college kids get abducted and impregnated with aliens and have to deal with some light body horror, then less light body horror, and finally some very silly body horror, and both stories unite before the end. So Death Valley's imagery is mostly classic generic UFO stuff, abductions, saucers, tentacles, people being probed, undulating stuff, and the obligatory alien-human hybrids. As intros for American Horror Story go, this is extremely low effort. I like the black and white, but it is literally the least they could do. They could have used recreations of drawings of aliens by abductees. They could have used the Men in Black. They could have made the shots look like they were actually from the 60s. But nah, it's just basic. The only images that really do what they should are the tentacle clock, showing the aliens are playing the long game, the decades-long game, and the thighs with the tentacles emerging from it, to show the birth of an alien-human hybrid. And all in all, it is not a great season to start off with if you've never seen the show. Number 11 is Murder House, probably a little controversial as it is quite beloved in the fandom, but it's an American horror story that's most basic and comparatively stripped down, much like the season as a whole. It had sparks of the trash fire that became an inferno, and it was great the first time I watched it, but it was very quickly superseded. We get a lot of very basic, creepy, almost generic horror movie imagery, but quite a lot of it is actually cleverly worked into the plot itself. Like the babies, both demonic and ghost, the ominous entrance to the basement, bloody surgery, stuff like that. I'm not a fan of the random Victorian photographs, though. Sure, they reinforce that the house is old, but they really feel a bit too old to be connected to the house. And honestly, it feels a bit cheap to use real people's photographs like this. I really don't get why people find Victorian photographs creepy. Another reason to place this so low in the intro list, they got so much better at incorporating the imagery from the season into the intro. Rather than this, which is pretty much a grab bag of generic horror imagery, some of which lines up with the show. As for where I rank the season as a whole, it falls somewhere in the low middle, I think. It's American Horror Story at its most restrained and normal, which means it falls into the background compared to a lot of other seasons. But on the other hand, it is a perfect season to check out if you've never seen the show and have no idea if you'd like it or not. Number 10 is Red Tide, a tale of addiction and art in a small, desolate New England fishing town. It's a love letter to both Stephen King and H.P. Lovecraft. The troubled writer with his family is The Shining, while the isolated weird town filled with monsters is The Shadow over Innsmouth. The theme of addiction is pure King, while the hatred of the other is Lovecraft. Red Tide was the first half of Season 10 and returns to the basic theme music. The previous season, 1984, was one of the ones that changed up the music. Honestly, I think they should have done that more often. Keep the same tune, change the style to fit the season. Anyway, we got kitschy New England tat, blood, drugs, and symbols of art. Exactly what the season's about. I particularly like the framing of certain shots. They're going for maximum aesthetics, but minimal effort. Nicely mixing both good and bad art. Which in a very meta sense perfectly sums up American Horror Story. But we also get less obvious images like brain scans. The plot involves people taking a drug to boost creativity, but if you're uncreative, you become a vampire-like creature with your brain literally changed, made feral and bestial. But those aren't the only vampires. The creative ones, the artists, they take ideas, concepts, and people from around them for their work. And this literalizes it. It's a vampire story where people who write stories are the real vampires. It's kind of complicated concept to get across in simple imagery, and this only kind of succeeds at that. As a story, and with the majority, it's fine, probably middle of the deck, but it does fall apart in the last episode. Again, this is not a great one to start off with if you've never seen the show. Number 9 is Asylum, Season 2. Don't get me wrong about Asylum, it's AHS at its best. It took what was there in Murder House and perfected it. Asylum is a plot constructed out of random horror tropes from disconnected stories that have never met before, and maybe shouldn't have, but somehow it works. It starts out as a simple story of an intrepid lesbian reporter investigating an evil asylum run by an evil nun, with all the tropes you'd expect. But it broadens out to include serial killers, alien abduction, the devil, Nazi war experiments, modern Nazi experiments, the angel of death, and far, far, far more. Including Anne Frank for some reason. And it does it while being a heart-wrenching drama. It's AHS at its best. Alas, the intros aren't quite great yet. This one gives us the asylum, people in prison, the oppression, religion, and nothing from the more out there elements that the season has. And that's part of why it's so far down. AHS intros at their best lay out what the season is about, but in a way that you don't make sense of until you've seen it. It's like a mini art house mystery, and part of the fun of the show is trying to decode it. At least it is for me. But on the other hand, it is a huge step up from Murder House, because it gives us actual cinematography, which Murder House's intro was badly missing. Anyway, Asylum is the best season of American Horror Story. I wouldn't suggest you watch it first, though, because then the only way is down. Number 8 is Hotel, Season 5, the first post-Jessica Lange season, brought on Lady Gaga to replace her. Quite aptly, the theme of the season is glamour, and killing people. But it's always about killing people. Hotel is set in the Hotel Cortez in LA, inspired by the Cecil Hotel, a hotel with a reputation for ghosts and whatnot. The Cortez is home to some ghosts, but also vampires, an addiction demon, 2 of the 3 greatest characters in the show, Liz fucking Taylor.
I was a salesman in another life. In this one, I'm the mother of style. Cut me and I bleed Dior.
And James Patrick March.
Your name is James Patrick March. You're the greatest serial killer who's ever lived.
How do you know all this?
I googled you.
That sounds obscene.
The 3rd greatest character is Myrtle Snow from Coven and Apocalypse. But we'll get to her. The Hotel Cortez is not just based on the Cecil, though. There's also some H.H. Holmes influence in James Patrick March, the original owner. Basically, Evan Peters is taking Gomez Addams, and I love him. Out of all the seasons, this one probably is the strongest cast of characters. I could literally just watch a reality show about these people. But anyway, the intro. As an interesting choice, we're getting a pretty accurate representation of things and people in the hotel, but almost always much dingier and grimier than they are in the show. For instance, look at the decor compared to the actual place, and this kid compared to his counterpart in the show. And I'm fairly sure this is demonic Liz Taylor, one of the purest characters ever to exist. This was a very odd choice. We've also got multiple shots of people in mattresses when, unless I'm remembering wrong, that only happens once. And a couple of half-assed depictions of ghosts with fades and someone in a bedsheet. And impossibly the bluntest thing in any of these intros, we get the 10 Commandments, because in the show there's the 10 Commandments serial killer. Sad to say because I like Hotel, but the intro is a bit of a dud. I probably should have put it lower down. I mean, there are literal Halloween-style skeletons. More than one! Number 7 is NYC, Season 11, an unusual season because, arguably, there's no supernatural elements. It starts off with a search for a serial killer targeting gay men in early 80s New York, a clear riff on cruising, but then it gets odd. Basically, the serial killer, the muscle-bound Big Daddy, is the personification of AIDS, and all his victims died from it. But in the narrative, they were all murdered, even though it was AIDS. Like I said, it's odd. And then, the last couple of episodes go full on Angels in America as it turns into a heart-wrenching, arty, slightly trippy AIDS drama. One of my favourite moments in TV history was in Season 2 of Millennium, when the show became an abstract music video for a full 10 or 15 minutes, as they played the entirety of Patti Smith's Horses over a virus getting released, which is going to destroy the world.
The waves were coming in like Arabian stallions, gradually lapping into seahorses. He picked up the blade, and he pressed it against his smooth throat, spewing.
What a cliffhanger. Then Season 3 happened, and they have to undo that because they wanted to do Season 3. and it was terrible. Anyway, this is a section where that rough kind of thing happens, and it's nearly as impressive. It involves radioactive craft work. When I saw this for the first time, I was legitimately freaked out by how unironically good this show that I watched for trash and madness was suddenly capable of being. Both this and the following season, Delicate, are sort of counterparts to each other. NYC is a very male, very gay story, while Delicate is a very female, very straight story. Okay, gay and straight aren't the right words because bisexuals exist, but NYC is about men having sex with men, and Delicate hinges on a woman getting pregnant.
Again, it's like poetry, so if they rhyme.
NYC's intro imagery includes photographic equipment, one of the characters is a photographer, and another works for a gay newspaper. There's a dismembered cocktail umbrella, a reference to the Mai Tai killer, another serial killer in the city. We've got skeletal AIDS victims, blood cells, fetish wear, naked men, blood-covered art, a glory hole, handkerchiefs, bloody impaled cherries. Lots and lots of subtle and not-so-subtle sex imagery, because ultimately this is a story about the horrors that can come from sex. And right at the start of the intro, we have the most abstract image that makes the most sense in hindsight. A deer in headlights, because no one saw AIDS coming. This whole thing's a little more abstract than it appears at first glance. The skeletal AIDS victims are dancing. They're out clubbing, and they're already dead and don't know it. And here's the St. Christopher, protection, one of the characters wears in the show. But apart from that, it's a symbol of protection. Safe sex. This is definitely one of my favourite intros when it comes to coded meaning. Honestly, this should probably be in the second video. Anyway, if you're new to AHS, I do not suggest starting here. It'll really skew your ideas about what the rest of the show is like. And that's it for part 1. I expect part 2 in a little while, but until then, write down in the comments the order you think the remaining 6 intros will be in. Worst to best. As a reminder, I've yet to discuss Coven, Freak Show, Cult Apocalypse, 1984, and Delicate. And remember, I'm not ranking them according to quality of the season, just the intro. And thanks for watching. If you enjoy the videos and haven't subscribed and hit the bell, give it a go. You might enjoy it. Besides, YouTube loves not telling people when I upload. And if you want to make sure you don't miss videos, then check out the Patreon. There you can support the show more directly. And also get access to videos early and a bunch of cool rewards like special bonus videos and much more.
Shut off the projector.
Shut it off!